If you're in the waiting room, we appreciate your patience while we get some technical difficulties worked out. But we are good to go. Okay, Steve, you may start the meeting. Thank you for waiting.
Start the meeting. First order on this agenda is the minutes from the, what week is that here? The
July 7th.
July 7th.
Yes.
Okay. Comments on the minutes? Having no comments, I move to approve as presented.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. Either one.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. On the agenda, which is very full today, 60 Church Street. There's an HSR that goes along with that. 60 Church Street. The owner proposes to make interior changes to the existing house, including removing 1/1 wood window from the side north elevation near the rear, adding in its place 2 1/1 windows, a hood vent penetration, new Dutch lap siding to match the existing, installation and full lengths, new cedar trim mill to match the existing windows proposed are aluminum clad windows by Pella. They've been watching our presentation, evidently. And excuse my, I thought I had it all in order here.
That might have been Dave there for a minute. That's an old photo.
I'm bringing the presenters online.
Steve, do you want a motion to approve the HSR?
Yeah, I want a little more,
Okay.
their conclusions should be right in front of you, but they're not. Prospectus found nothing wrong with the proposal. It did not affect the existing. The proposed changes to '60 Church Street does meet the standards of historically significant. There's effect to itself or other historically significant properties in the area. The applicant has taken care to match the wood siding materials, the fenestration. In other words, they just loved it. It does not affect, it minimizes the adverse effect on the historical significance of the property, and it's not viewable from the first place. I move to receive the prospectus evaluation.
Second.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes. Your comments on the presentation, please.
Dave?
Morning, everybody. Yeah, I'm here. Morning. So yeah, as Steve pointed out, yes, the Tut Hills are proposing a interior remodel, which consists of removing a large area wall between the existing kitchen and existing dining and getting rid of some stairs. So all that being said, how it leads us to here today is that it limits how we can lay out the kitchen, and one item that came into play was the existing window. Surprise, surprise. So we are proposing to get rid of the one window and put 2, albeit narrow and shorter windows in its place. So we took, every effort to at least make it look symmetrical. We keep it on the back side of that bay window, which I think helps us. And as in the report says, we're going to basically take out the siding around the windows and put in new siding to match the existing in its place.
This is Bill Childs. I think this project's pretty straightforward. They're matching all the materials. Looks like they're centered and being conscientious of fenestration. I'd move to approve this one.
I
Yeah,
second.
I have no other comments on it. And Phil, I mean, I agree.
Did I hear a second? I think-
Yes,
Okay.
So motion by Childs, who made the second?
Naylor,
Okay, thank you. Motion by Childs, second by Naylor. King,
Yes.
Childs,
Yes.
Naylor.
yes.
Okay, thank you, David
Thank-
Jansen.
Thank you. Harry Edwards, thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
You want to stay and see what Shipley's doing?
No,
Hmm?
no, I have other things to do.
Thank you. 291 North Street, Rooney.
Okay.
Just wondering if I should check.
I'm bringing
out.
on the presenters.
I'm gonna leave.
Todd Clark and Chris Rooney are in attendance as panelists. Todd, can you give us a sound check to make sure we can hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great.
Okay, Todd, the floor is yours. You want to go ahead and walk your project through?
Yeah, great, thank you. So if you recall, we did present this previously under a preliminary submittal. The garage in the previous submittal was attached and up front, basically on the front yard setback line of the property. Based on comments and revising the layout, we decided to go proceed with a detached garage to push that toward the back of the property, and then pull the front door, split the difference between the front door with the house to the north and to the south. It actually, the grades worked out really well in terms of existing grades. We lowered a little bit of the grade in the front of the house by the street to blend it with the property to the north, and push that garage in the back. So, I mean, those were the main comments that I think we received from the review board previously.
I really appreciate seeing this, with the detached rear garage. I think it's, and I think the front elevation is balanced. Stylistically, it's got the metal roof and the timber, but I think there's some of that going on North Street that's kind of become a bit of a mix of different styles. My only criticism was that those side-facing gables seem a little small. And I don't even think it's the window element, it's just the mass of them seem small on that big roof. Other than that, I think it's a pretty a nice project, and I don't have issues with it on that lot.
This is Bill Childs. I just wanted to say I think you did a really nice job on this, even with the detached garage. I think the massing's well done, proportions, the fenestration. My only two comments I would make, I would not put the two windows on the front gable, the two smaller ones. I'd eliminate those. I think those are a little bit too much. I'd take those two windows out. And the only other comment I'd say is on the detached garage, I would flip you have a really large window up in the gable and smaller ones down below. I flip it, I make the two in the garage on the first floor larger and the one on the top smaller, just kind of flip the scale of them. And other than that, I think I'd move to approve this based on those two comments.
What's going on in the front, the room that's facing? Oh, okay. So it's a stairs.
Yeah, stair to the lower level
Yeah,
in the front, and then also the stair to the upper level. The two large windows in the front on the main gable let light down into the stairwell going toward the second floor. And there's a loft, a study loft on the second floor where those two small windows are flanking the double unit, double hung.
okay.
So yeah, I know those windows, would it be like, it would be nice to get some natural light into the study area on the second floor, and then at the landing of the stairs that flank those two double windows. So I mean, I guess we might look at reducing the size of those two windows, and maybe.
What if you made them like square, rectangle, or yeah, square instead of?
Yeah, I could see your point that they feel a little bit large in that elevation proportionally. So yeah, we could definitely be nice to get the natural light, but then reduce the scale of those and look at that option too. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that would be fine. We definitely don't want to take the light out of those rooms. But I'd love to see the plan again, Harry, or both first and second floor plans.
Let me find it here. Is that what you're looking for?
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that.
That in a second. Oh yeah. There you go. Thanks.
Did you look at putting a triple there instead of two? Would that help the situation, eliminate those two windows, put a triple?
I did not look at that, but that's something we could certainly investigate. Yeah.
Because it always looks better to do things in threes,
Yeah.
just like in nature and stuff. And then you can eliminate those two little windows and then it'll fill up some of the field of yet let a lot of light in those spaces if you have three big windows.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, is that a railing or a low wall?
It's a low wall.
Yeah.
A low wall, yeah. So potentially it can kind of act as one space. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think if we just, I mean, I wouldn't see that as stopping us from giving approval. I think we could approval with consideration to those things.
I agree. Did a real nice job.
Yep.
Todd, I just had one comment for you, and you probably saw it on one of my drawings here. On the detached garage and actually the back of the house,
yeah.
What are you guys doing with the downspouts and the stormwater? Because that's all pitching towards the back. And I don't know if you're below the storm sewer there or what.
Yeah, I don't know for sure if we're below the storm sewer, but if we certainly would be willing to look at collecting that roof and doing some sort of a dry well situation to where we could collect it and let it percolate out. I think that if we run into the situation where we're below the storm sewer, we can
slow it down a bit.
Take a look at that. The other thing that we talked about was potentially raising that garage up about 18 inches grade wise and running like a one course of retaining wall, maybe of barnstone on the north side of the driveway to eliminate some slope between the house and the garage. It's set at 212 right now, and the grade at the back entry is at 215. So it's we thought maybe that might be something to look at when we do final grading. And
Okay.
setting of the garage.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Hey, Harry, I don't know that you'd want to do this. Is it permissible to not have gutters on the garage?
No, we need to have gutters and downspouts. It's in
Okay.
our code.
Okay,
And if there's a storm sewer available, they're supposed to go to the storm sewer.
right. But I wonder if an alternative such as like a rain garden, that kind, water barrel.
Yeah, that might
actually
come
is
out of the
better.
engineer's office. I'm sure the engineer lately has been asking for a rain garden. So I'm sure that's going to be a comment that'll be addressed on the final.
That's better for the storm because it just doesn't keep loading it with more.
Exactly.
Further comments?
I think this could be approved as noted, or as with consideration for the front windows.
That's a good motion. I move to approve as presented with consideration on the windows George mentioned. And Harry is to follow up on the water from the garage, which I'm not sure I fully understand exactly. You're talking about a dry well, Harry? Is that what you're?
He was talking about maybe a dry well of some sort or a rain garden. That will be left up to the village engineer to determine what's best.
Okay.
First, we need to investigate to see if they can even make the storm sewer. If not, then
Okay. So, I move to approve as presented with the consideration of the windows and follow up by the village engineer for the water consideration.
Second it.
okay.
Thank you.
Motion by King, seconded by Childs. Naylor,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll see you on the final, Todd.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. 53 Hall Street, Sanders. 1907 house, owner proposes to make interior exterior changes to the existing house, including demolition of the rear garage and construction of a new 3-car garage, roofing painted, siding to match existing house roofing and siding. Overhead garage doors will be painted fiberglass carriage style. I do not understand what the alternate scheme is, but we'll get into that, I'm sure. Ultimate scheme to include a screened porch in the linking to the rear of the house of the new garage. Prospectus, certainly liked it. It does meet the standards of historically significant properties, not have an adverse effect on the historical significance of this house, and the changes cannot easily be the street. I'm not so sure about that, but it seems to please prospectus. I move to receive the report from prospectus.
Second.
Motion by King, seconded by Naylor to accept prospectus's report. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
I would just add that I remember a comment by them raising some concern with the continuous roof plane between the house and the garage on the property line side, I believe. So that just could come up, that's something that we shouldn't completely miss that they noted.
What does the alternate plan mean? A double
Okay.
presentation?
Can you hear me okay?
Hi,
Harry, can you hear me?
Hi, Steve.
Yes,
We
can you hear me? Great,
Yeah.
thanks. So what we're looking at
Steve,
is,
hey, Steve, just identify your name for the record.
oh, I'm
so-
sorry. This is Steve Ciceretto, the architect representing the Sanders on this project. Okay,
Thank you, Steve.
We're
Sure.
here with Sanders, but Steve's going to present for us. But
Hi, everybody.
hi, folks.
Dave and Marianne are also on.
Okay, great.
Okay, so what we're looking at was a base project that included removing a fairly dilapidated structure that actually
I'm on a meeting right now.
encroaches on the neighbor's property line to the south, to the rear of the property. It was a fairly large building that was over 1,200 square feet, and so what this includes is to remove that building to add more lawn and green space to the property, and then have a detached garage as the base bid. And that's Harry has that up for you. That 3-car garage in a detached form, Harry has pointed out, would require being a couple more feet off the property line. But the alternate, Steve, is to add a screen porch attachment to the house. So basically, if you walk out of the garage, you cut through the screen porch to get to the rear door. And that is inset, a bit from the face of the west side of the garage, west side of the property. So the alternate is if we deem it's affordable and appropriate, that we would do the screen porch attachment. Okay, and Harry wants to roll the elevations. I think you can see it's garage. The new garage matches all the materials from the existing house. The front porch has, and some of the house has some shake siding. So we've introduced that element in the gable end over the center door, and just to break that roof line a little, project that out with some brackets, some detailing. So you can see it's against the 6-foot fence, board on board fence to the neighbor's property. So we kind of have that shown there, but so that sort of shows the main one, and that elevation shows the alternate with the screen porch attaching to the main body of the house. Kind of broke that back so that it ties into the existing house, missing windows on the back side of the house, and allows us to keep the pitch consistent with the main house. So one
Can you
more.
show the final elevation, Harry?
What's that, George?
The other side of this alternate elevation. Right. That's the one with the long continuous roof plane and wall plane. Right.
Harry, can you reduce it so it's the whole structure is on the screen?
I can try.
Can you do it?
Yeah.
So I can get the proportions. Yeah. Thanks.
How's that?
That helps a lot. Thank you.
Okay.
And there are no existing windows on that side of the house on the first floor.
On the first, on the portion that we're attaching to, there's a window that's concealed underneath that gable that you see there. I believe there is other windows on there, Dave. On
There's
side.
one window right underneath that one that's showing up on the second floor.
Beyond that, I think George was asking about.
No windows.
You're showing in the plan, you're showing a bay in the dining room maybe, and another step back towards the front. So this
yes, those
100-foot long elevation is not doing it for me. with no breakups, and now you're actually extending it from the back, the one step you did have, extending it all the way to the end of the garage seems
Yeah, we talked,
pretty
so we
monolithic.
talked, so we talked about was to, we have obviously ridgeline difference already. So we talked about pushing that garage off the property line, which would give you a roof line break at the end of the screen porch. So in other words, not keeping it all in that one line, we could break it at the garage and the screen porch.
I think it'd be nicer almost if the garage was closer to the property line and the screen porch jogged in a little bit and got lower as a, you know, or I could even see the screen porch with a flat roof or something that just had a contrast that just made it a more of a link, and not necessarily the dominant form on that side. But it would be helpful to see the accurate representation of what that site elevation is now, because we're trying to look at the whole thing when it's done.
But it's fairly, but that part is fairly irrelevant to the addition. I mean, the major form is masked there. So
I mean, you've
see,
got to wait. Oh no, I guess this is this little.
We're just,
yeah. I think you could consider a little more window on that side. I mean, it's an alternate, but if you're asking for approval, like maybe we should have two different motions, one for the garage only and one for the alternate scheme, including all this attachment, which I think is trickier and more problematic.
Harry, can you,
yeah,
excuse me, Harry, can you address that as an attached structure? That garage can move another foot closer to the property line, right?
It's not attached technically.
Yeah, that's not a, yes, it can go closer to the property line.
Right. So,
but it's not attached because it doesn't have what?
Doesn't meet the 40% and it's got open screens.
Warm space. A screen porch is not conditioned space, so you're not technically attaching it to the house, even though you're seeing it.
There's a note on your plan that says 21 feet requires 6-foot side yard setback.
For the garage, detached garage.
For the detached.
But we're talking about pushing it closer and it's already it's set at 5 feet now.
I think it's at 7 feet now, isn't it, Harry?
No, it says 5.
Well, they're two different things. The garage in itself, so in either case, what I think Harry is saying is that the garage element itself needs to be 7 foot basically off the line instead of 5. And so we've agreed that we could do that and move that off the line more. There's not really an intent to fire rate this garage. We're looking to avoid drywalling it. It's just a garage structure and all that. So we definitely want to stay off of any restrictions that would require, fireproofing or fire rating those gutter boards in the rear of the.
I don't think you have any fire. Well, what are you thinking about, Harry, in terms of fireproofing?
I think there's some comments from the code review on fireproofing. If it's less than, I think the code says 5 feet is the magic line there where you got to fireproof it. There's some issues that he has to work out with building code compliance. There's a letter from RSA.
Right, these aren't full construction documents, obviously, at the point. But that would be the point. If you're 3 foot off, if any portion is 3 foot off the line, including that overhang, it would have to be fire rated and fire rated materials. So we want to keep off the line that at 5.
It looks like you need to be 6 feet off, so that's a moot point.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. That's what we're basically agreeing to. So saying that what I'm saying is that would allow for a break in that long, in that long eave line along the west side of the building. So.
Yeah, but I think there needs to be a break between the house, a little bit of a break between the house itself, that bump out of the house and that screen porch. But so going back to the garage elevation real quick, my thought on it, One was, I guess I'm curious what the rest of the board thinks about the arch garage doors, whether they're stylistically compatible. I mean, they're attractive, but I'm not sure they totally work in with a house. But also the two end windows on the major gables, not the side facing gable, seem low to me. And I guess I wonder if we couldn't add a window on that south elevation somewhere. There's no windows on the whole backside, and there's no window on that elevation. So there's not a ton of light in this garage. But I think those little windows on the gable seem low in the triangle, the pediment area of the house. They don't seem like anything is holding them to be so low. If you're up in that attic, they're going to be, you know, the top comes up like 4 feet or something, and it just seems like they could float upward a little bit, like 18 inches or.
This is
I have no
Bill.
problem. Yeah.
Bill?
I just had a couple comments. First of all, on this elevation, I would not put this pediment. I'd get rid of this pediment totally. And the reason being is right now we have a rhythm of these garage doors. And if you were going to define that with a pediment, you'd want hierarchy. What I mean by that is if this garage was wider, let's say this is A, and then this is B and B, then you'd put a pediment there and maybe pop this out. Right now, that just to me looks like it's stuck on. I would save their money, not put a pediment there, just let this garage be a pure form. If they do want to spend money and break up the roof, I would put small little dormers up here. I'm sorry, I'm a little out of scale here, but little dormers here with little roofs with little windows just to break up the roof, or not do anything. I don't mind the arch doors, that doesn't bother me, but I would put a window on this elevation, kind of like what you have, just to break it up like you have down here. And
so not a problem.
And then this back elevation, I can see you probably didn't put windows. Is this fence right up against the wall of the garage? Is that what you're saying?
4 feet, 4 feet off the back wall.
Okay. I mean, typically it's nice. What you'd want to do is line up a garage door with a window. So when you pull in, you see right out. And you know, what you typically want to do is maybe if you just did the little windows like you have here, just to break it up and get a little daylight, and put 3 little guys here just to break up that facade. And then I agree about the screen porch. You know, you instead of having a long wall, you want to pull that in a foot or two, and same off the house. So you read each form. If you go back, Harry, to the back elevation of the full.
Hold on a second here. Let me find it for you. There you go. Is that what you're looking for?
With the house.
With the screen porch.
Oh, okay. It's hard to read these little thumbnails on the side.
Yeah.
You want the back elevation?
Yeah, the back. This looks good.
Right.
So like it would be nice to have a break here and a break. So this form reads. So you read this form. It'd be nice to have that. I know that might mess up plan wise, but I would break those forms up. But then isn't there a window here or something? Or should there be a window here?
There is a window.
On the inside, yeah.
Okay, so you just haven't drawn the rest of the windows on the back facade. Is that what we're saying?
Well, yes, correct. The window you're indicating, Bill, is on the existing house line, but it's shielded by that addition. It was so close to that, but back to that property line, to that fence, we didn't add it. Yeah, and the other elevations, I guess it's not really a complete elevation. I just showed where it was breaking. I agree with you. We could definitely offset that 6 inches or so to at least get a read of that break line, right where you indicated it.
Right. You just got to be careful when you only do 6 or 4. What happens is the gutter sticks up or sticks past and it looks kind of funny. You want to go like a foot or 2 foot so you read it so the gutter doesn't start.
Right. Well, that's only a 4 foot setback, off that projection is only 4 foot off to align with the existing house, as I would want to say is that where the stair is and that whole porch that's there right now is is just 4.5 foot. It's not a lot of space. If you look at the plan, I think it explains it better.
I do agree with that. I think the intermediate structure should be recessive, should be pushed back in, and maybe it's 8 inches. You work out that detail, whatever that is, but I think it's really going to help you even technically to break those roof lines, the plane of the roof, because it's difficult to build so much structure on and have it plane out perfectly, and you're going to have like little bumps in any event. So I mean, I think for aesthetic and practical reasons, it'd be nice to have that be a separate roof over the screen porch of whatever nature.
Yeah, nice job, Steve. It's a nice project, and I think with those, some of
I
those.
think those, sure.
One
Great.
comment I would make about, it's not so architectural as it is usage, 1907 house. There's a transition going from horses to cars, and this probably would have been more of a stable than a garage. Hence, the doors are sort of stable-like, and the you would probably have a hay door instead of a window in that gable that's sticking out, because you'd be using the upper part for feed. I don't know how that enters in our suggestions, but it is a stable, or appear to be a stable if possible, and it kind of has that feel.
I like
I
that.
agree. I agree with Steve and Bill's comments, and the architecture that goes with this house would call for a more simple barn structure, which I think Bill was trying to move that direction. I agree with all those comments. The scale of this is very large, looking at sizes of barns in relationship to existing houses in the village. So I tend to go towards keeping this as a completely detached structure without that screen porch connection. I know that what you're trying to do, so you can come out of the garage and go into the house.
Right.
But I just think with the traditional layout, and I happen to live in this kind of arrangement where I have a house and I walk to the barn, it has more of the traditional feel and plan of Chagrin Falls houses. And that continuous plane that I'm seeing, there's not a lot of public sight lines to the side elevations, but they're really long, proportionate to the house, and that concerns me somewhat.
Okay.
I mean, I think one issue here is whether the existing garage, it's okay to proceed with this, garage demolition. And I don't think we've spoken directly to that issue. I certainly think that the garage demolition is potentially a good thing. And if this garage conforms, to our size restrictions and so forth, on a preliminary way as a detached garage, I mean, I think we could be.
Yeah, so a motion for the demolition of the existing and then construction of the freestanding garage.
Right. I think,
With
don't we have a
comments,
separate
yeah.
motion, Harry, about the demolition?
Yeah, you need to, I was gonna bring that up. So you need to do a demolition of the existing detached garage.
But
And then,
do we need a
vote.
public hearing for that? Because I think we
Not-
need to open it up.
Not for the garage, no.
No, not for garage
No, not for
demolition?
garage?
No.
Okay. I move to approve demolition of the existing garage.
I second.
Okay, motion by Naylor, seconded by King for demolition of the existing garage. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then you can do a motion for the submittal that's in front of you.
Motion for what, Harry?
The submittal that they're talking about.
Oh, okay.
So we decided there are two parts to the submittal. There's an alternate, and then the proposal of building the freestanding garage, and then a separate alternate proposal with the screen porch. Is that how we're breaking this down, Steve?
presented as alternate. So even if it's, quote, attached to the house with a screened-in porch, it's still a detached garage, I believe. Right, Aaron?
Correct.
Okay, so it's a detached garage either way you go. So we could break it into the garage and the way that it connects to the house.
You could also do revise and resubmit for everything and just.
Well, given the comments that we have, I think that would be a good direction because we have a lot of different views going on here.
I think you'd still be allowed to submit for final directly then, Steve.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. That'd be fine.
I would like to clarify my comments because I pretty much like the garage the way it looks. Not the 100 foot blank wall thing has to be corrected, but that's not really the garage's issue, I don't think. Only I think it fits the house, the times that the house was built.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with the garage design. I mean, I agree with Bill's thoughts on it as well, but the side facing gable, maybe it's more a matter of how it's done.
I think, Steve, if you kept that, if you just ran, instead of having the brackets, right? Hold on, let me just.
Brackets, yeah.
If these brackets, this is a freeze board right here. The bracket should hold up the entablature, run the entablature across. If you pull this up a little bit so that it's not, and then do the
break it, right?
A little higher, it'll
Sure,
look a little better. And then what you do is maybe just put, like Steve was saying, a hayloft door on it, and then it's just so it raises it so it's not flat up on sitting down on there.
Yeah, it's a little awkward. I agree with you, Bill, that to project it just from the eve line is a little weak. It's a little weaker than it could be. It would be nice to project. Obviously, we built to the max on that 700 square feet and the depth requirements and all that for the cars. So it's what's making it more boxy than I would care for it to be. But I do see that we could raise that gable to break that gutter line a little bit. And
Bill, are you suggesting that that gable get a little larger and push back so that you capture a little bit of roof line instead of trying to project it out, you push it back?
It goes like this, so it's a little higher. And then what you do is you get rid of this light and you put a recessed candle here. This comes out like a foot or two. These stay here, these lights, and then you put the hay door, like Steve was saying, on it, and it raises it up so it looks like it really works. And then it gives balance because this gable right now is really low. If you pull it up, it'll feel a little more balance, a little more hierarchy.
Okay.
Okay, we can look at that, or we could consider removing it and going with the simple garage as Bill suggested also.
Yes. My primary issue is not the garage, but the link. So I'd like to make sure that you finish the elevation of the existing house and work with how you articulate the connection basically between the barn and push the porch out even closer to the side yard, and then push the garage back or something to articulate that, because it's just too long and too flat.
Harry, do you have the photos, Harry?
No,
you show them?
I have the photos from Perspectives.
Well, I think that definitely the link is a revise and resubmit, so you'll have plenty of time.
Sure. Okay, that's no problem. I think if you could see the photos, if we were in person, you might be able to see that what's happening and where we're tying into that existing. It looks kind of added on there, but there's sort of an element there that we're really tying into to the right under that window that we're showing up there, sort of. So but we can address that. I'll discuss it with the Sanders, how they'd like to proceed. But I do agree that it would be fairly easy for us to create some breaks along that line, that west property line, you know, and get a little bit more what you're looking for there.
Should we just go with revise and resubmit and then study it, and maybe you'll get pricing back so you can come back with a definitive design versus.
Well, I think there's enough to discuss with the Sanders that we could, you know, revise, resubmit, and come back in and still proceed with our, you know, with our process. So it won't hold us up.
Great.
Okay.
So I move to revise and resubmit with comments.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Naylor, seconded by Childs to revise and resubmit with comments. King,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
See ya.
And Steve, I just emailed you the comments from RSA. You should have it in your inbox.
Okay. Oh, well, you already submitted to them. I didn't realize that. We weren't really into construction documents. But okay,
Yep.
we'll take a look. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. 15 Pleasant Alley. I think, is that the rain tree that we're talking about?
No, this would be La Look. Behind
La
the
Look.
behind Chase
yeah.
Bank or the former PNC. You looked at this back in the fall. She submitted a sign. You wanted some additional information, and now that
Okay.
everything's starting to wrap up at Chase Bank, she's submitted made another submission.
Okay.
Martha, can you give
Yes.
us a sound check and state your first and last name for the record?
Yes, it's Martha Butchko. Hello.
We hear
Yes,
you.
we hear you. Thank you.
Okay, Martha, welcome. So you can go ahead and present your sign, and then the ABR members will comment.
She's muted.
You're on mute.
Unmute. Martha?
We heard you initially.
I'm getting her. Just a second.
Okay,
There
how
she
about
is.
now?
Yes.
Better.
Okay, sorry. So, we submitted the sign. You were okay with the sign. You just wanted it moved over a little bit. So that's basically what the drawings show, that we moved the sign over in the courtyard.
Mhm.
Okay. So,
And I think there is a drawing that shows it.
Yeah, there you go.
So the courtyard's going back to the original way. They're putting up the wrought iron fence. It'll be pretty much the way it used to be, with low shrubs. And then the sign would go in front of my door, which would be right by the sidewalk in the courtyard.
Right.
Yeah, there's the picture.
And it's actually behind the fence, right?
Correct. It's behind the wrought iron fence. All the shrubs will remain low. Where the old La Look awning is, you know, that's now doors, and Chase has their sign on the actual building.
I think we should just move to approve this.
yeah, I agree.
I move to approve.
I second.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Motion by Naylor, seconded by King. Childs,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Martha.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you. Okay. 25 Pleasant Alley, Shibley.
So let me make a few comments on this. You notice there's 3 different signs on here. As you can see, the wall sign on the south side of the building, that's not approved. And then the other 2 signs, bracketed hanging sign and the one over the main door. Those could be approved. I'm not sure about the square footage. But I think right now this is just a preliminary, kind of show you the concept of what they're proposing. And from there, we'll let the applicant talk about what they're doing.
Applicants, I've invited you to become panelists. You're welcome to unmute and start your videos. Before you speak, if you would just state your first and last name for the record, please.
Hey, this is Larry Shibley.
Larry.
Good morning, Larry.
Morning.
Good morning.
You want to turn your audio on? Or, I mean, your video?
Start video. Yeah, it's not, it's, okay.
There
All right. So this, like Harry said, it's preliminary. It's just a basic layout. The goal is to add a lot more light to the building. It's always been a dark building. The billboard on the south wall was something that an architect did. We're not intending to even apply for that or anything. That will ultimately just be a painted wall. With the new window added on that side. And there's currently a trash container there and an enclosure. And we're attempting to remove that and consolidate the trash removal into the Yours Truly enclosure, which helps clean up the look back there so it's not one dumpster after another.
Is that are you going to have an issue with putting a window on that side because of the fact that it's driveway and parking and?
I don't think so. I think from a fire standpoint, we probably will need an easement, which would say that that's not buildable there. Or we have to have a fire screen on the window. Fire shutter, yeah. Much like what was done with the old Pepper Tree building, W Design, we had to give them an easement on the property that we own next door because they put new windows in on our property line.
And do you own the next door property, Larry?
No.
Okay.
No, and historically, the Raintree building tenant has leased that dumpster area from Jonathan Fields.
Gotcha.
Which could be continued, but we're trying to eliminate it to have the glass, the window there, etc., instead of having a dumpster enclosure.
Mm-hmm. It would be nice to have more light.
Yeah. Well, and then on the north wall, there's a lot more light.
Mm-hmm.
And historically, in the original use of the building, there were windows there. But when the Raintree did their build out, because of the restrooms, they eliminated the windows.
Gotcha. The only thing that concerns me is that I feel like that vertical wood pier fights with the bay because the bay is projecting and then the pier tries to project right next to it. Like, I feel like it should slide back off.
Yeah, that's probably not an issue. Again, this is conceptual, so we're happy to make whatever adjustments. Some of the purpose of the design was because the cement block style of the building never really matched with the copper awnings. And I think this ties it together better. The building was originally built with no style at all. It was just a block building that I think was built to be a dry cleaners. And then when Judd Platts upgraded it, he loved copper. That's why there's the copper awnings on the front buildings that I own on Main Street and on this building.
I'm glad you're keeping those bays. They're nice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't see the, I think they don't fit architecturally on the front, on 24 and 26 North Main, but they've been there so long that, you know, we're probably not going to change them.
Right.
Larry, one comment on the sign again. This one, it's on the corner. You're only allowed 2 signs. And I see they got this as being halo lit. So we can't backlight signs. You got to do some type of light out front of the sign if they're going to keep this sign.
Yeah.
So I just want everybody to understand that. So
Yeah, definitely. And again, I don't want any of you to think that we're submitting this as something, you know, these details. It was all just done quickly by an architect, but the concept of it we agree with. And I know that, what is it, 12 square feet
12
on the
square
sign?
feet.
Yeah.
12 square feet, yes.
Yeah, we'll definitely make sure that we're not going to approve any sign application to go to the village without knowing that it's compliant or that there's a reasonable reason to ask for a variance.
Okay.
Larry, what's that exterior surface material?
The wood.
Tile or
What
wood?
is that wood?
I don't really, you know, again, being conceptual, I don't think we've really called out the exact material.
Okay.
I think they wanted to use, they're using in the interior, they're using a lot of reclaimed
Oh,
wood.
okay. Okay.
And I think that would be their intent.
So look, okay.
Something that would hold up though in the weather, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All righty.
Can we see the other perspective view?
Yep.
Thanks, Harry.
There you go.
Oh yeah, there you go. There's more glass. And when I see that creates a little
Oh, I see. He's trying to
archway
yeah.
into the patio.
Yeah, and then the I don't know that all this is to the right scale, but you know, we started with the patio design to be the same as what Rick Duty had proposed. But what's in our contract with the tenant is to cut off about 4 feet of it in the north-south direction, which is going to allow to maintain a little bit more public space in the park area. And it also aligns the main walkway directly with the Yours Truly rear entrance. Now the main walkway and the rear entrance are jogged slightly, and it creates some confusion. People go down that Rain Tree walkway thinking they're going to Yours Truly or whatever. So this just cleans up the identification, but more importantly, it allows more public dining in the back. And just for clarification, we intend to maintain that. Parkside Grill primarily uses it, but we allow anybody to eat back there, brown baggers, whatever. There's no rules about that, and we intend to keep that going.
Is there a door in the north side of the building to the patio?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can see it back on our umbrella.
I think maybe, I don't know that you guys got a floor plan, but there is a door.
Okay.
Yeah.
No floor plan, Larry.
Okay. Well, I can definitely get you that, but I mean, and
Yeah,
and again, that's not finalized yet, but there needs to be a door for service. And it's, and I, from what I remember and what I suggested is that it be glass.
Well, it's interesting. Be nice to see that come to life again.
Yeah, I mean, considering COVID and everything, it's been a real challenge to put a deal together. It's very costly. The building has really never had any serious upgrade since the 70s when it was originally built out as a restaurant. It's only been band-aided since then. So this is going to be a major improvement and updating of everything, all the electrical, plumbing, HVAC. It'll bring it back to being a new building.
No briskets and gravy and mashed potatoes, huh?
I'm guessing not.
Yes, the only question in my mind is whether, and I don't know, I mean, I don't think the other side comes into this, but I mean, I guess you have to keep playing around and seeing if that exposed concrete block is the right material to leave on that elevation along that patio. And I mean, maybe that's a consideration just to study it. Because obviously you could go over that with some kind of skin. Obviously that costs money as well. So, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as a,
Yeah, I mean,
windows
and I'm not an architect or an expert or a design expert, but my general feel is usually to try not to cover things. Even though I know there's cover on the front, but I just feel like that front needs some prominence.
Right.
And I think with the right color scheme and everything on that on both side walls, I think that it'll pop and look good. I mean, they've been painted black for years, and
I mean,
it doesn't really do anything for it.
It could, and I mean, that concrete block just isn't quite as cute as your structural clay tiles you've exposed on in yours truly upstairs, and so
Yeah, but if you actually go to yours truly Solon, the whole interior is concrete block. It has brick veneer on the, or actual brick on the outside over it, but on the inside
Right.
it's block.
Right. So yeah, I'm just throwing that out as a consideration.
Definitely.
Along those same lines of speculation, we're seeing an awful lot of bifold doors, glass doors. I'm looking at those windows, and I don't know if it's closing a garage door or a bifold door or a slider or something, but there's a lot of that going on lately.
Yeah. Well, and I think definitely, even with the COVID thing, to have windows in a restaurant that are operable, whether they're garage or the bifold nano doors, I think that, they're a big expense, but there's definitely a lot of demand for it.
Right.
All righty.
But windows in general are better than no windows as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's not something we're telling you got to do.
Well,
I mean,
we're looking for preliminary approval here, and I think we're hearing a lot of positive comments. And Mr. Shibley has made it clear this isn't the final; this is his conceptual of it. And I think I would move to approve his concept.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for preliminary from King, seconded by Naylor. Childs?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Naylor?
Yes.
Okay, Larry, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you all for doing this. And I'm impressed with how well the Zoom function works out for all of us.
So am I.
Not bad.
I've been on some of these calls that don't work that well, but this worked well.
We wouldn't have Steve without Zoom, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Yep, thank you.
Bye.
Okay, 266 East Washington, screened-in porch Ellis.
Correct. So that's my project.
George, this is Christy. Is the homeowner joining us? I don't see them as an attendee. Do you know?
It would be John or Cindy Ellis.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure
see
what
I don't
they
see them in
intend to do that,
attendance.
so looks like they didn't.
That's fine. Thank you.
Mhm. So this is a screen porch addition to the rear of the house. If you go up a little and if you look at the photos, so you're seeing that, I think this, yeah, I think that photo that shows that long side of it is a nice descriptive photo. What we're doing is we're taking the architecture from that side addition of the house, kind of using it to do a flat roof screen porch that works with their existing patio configuration, which is an interesting, kind of big semicircle behind. So basically what we're adding to is the left side of that longer photo. And we're adding on to what you see in the left-hand photo is that rear-facing gable with that round patio underneath it. So we're adding the screen porch to that. We're not changing the fenestration there. We're just working around it. So if you can go back down. Thanks, Harry. So this is the other elevation, which you did not see in the photograph. That's a straight wall with a double screen door. So we have a flat roof, we have a low decorative fence parapet above it, just for visual weight. And then if you keep going down, Harry, you see it's kind of arranged symmetrically on the back with the addition of that small round bay that runs to the right side, uphill, east towards the school, whatever you want to call it. And that little round bay has a specific function, and that's to allow, so we can have some dining as well as some, just general seating area back there. That patio area isn't huge. We don't want to double the size of it. We want to kind of work with it. So we're adding a fairly small, it's like kind of a 15 by 15 roughly square, and then that little circular bump out lets us tuck a table right into that and still use the rest for seating. And it gives us a little access. So you can see that there, that you've got the table and then little seating area. They spend a lot of time on that patio, but this lets them do that in all weather and bug free. And then you've got the door, you've got to basically access out either side to the rest of their patio. So, and then we're taking their architectural cues, as I said, from the existing addition. And you can, yep.
I think it's quite nice.
Yeah, I agree. I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Child, seconded by Naylor. King,
Yes.
Child,
Yes.
Naylor.
Yes.
And George, I emailed you the plan review comments. They should be in your inbox.
Thank you, Harry. We'll take a look at those.
2-minute break.
Thanks.
It's time for a 2-minute break.
No breaks. We keep moving.
Break time.
Stop. All right, raise your hand if you need the 2-minute break. I can hang in, but
I'm good.
I'm
Christy did a break without even anybody knowing about it.
I did, but Joan is way too important, and I think we need to honor her break.
Okay.
Very good.
yeah.
All right. Joan, let
Yes.
us know when you're back. No problem.
Harry, do you have some music or something you can play?
If we are actually taking a break,
break
then
music.
I'm gonna go
I'll take a break.
Healthy, not healthy, whatever. Where's all the stuff?
right, I'm back. 2 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
Now I know the Benses are not here for this project.
George, I added those copies that you sent, that Colin sent to me last week. They're at the end of the presentation if you want to bring those up.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I got those to share, but yeah, so we can talk about that as like a little addendum to this.
Right.
Joan, is Joan back?
Oh,
Joan
yeah,
is back.
Okay, we're ready to rock.
Resuming.
So this is primarily an interior project, working with the kitchen and the back of the house and kind of opening up the floor plan of the back of their house. You're seeing the front elevation, and that's one of two things that are exterior changes, and that is that we're adding a little hood over the front door. So we're proposing, and you can see on the side elevation view, that upper view, you can see how that projects out. It's got a bracket, little beam underneath it. It's an elliptical hood. And then that's just a solid fan over the door. They don't quite have the ceiling height for a transom. So we're trying to give the front of the house a little dimension. This is on Applebrook. This is a 1970s neo-colonial design. Maybe it's earlier, isn't it, Harry?
60s.
Yeah.
68. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. Okay. So, and then, so on that same side elevation, there were no windows where those two blue windows are the added windows. That's in their dining room area. So we thought it'd be great to have some light that really works on the interior plan. And I think it also enhances that side. And then that's going to be an egress window down below, which if it's removal of the concrete block window and adding an operable egress window from the basement. So really those are the, well, let's see. I guess the last elevation would be the rear elevation of the house. Let's see. We have that other elevation, Harry. Got that?
Sorry, what elevation do you need?
Keep going. The fourth. That just shows the kitchen window, new kitchen window, and
this one,
right? Sliding door. The rear elevation.
My only comment would be on the brackets. I would just do a little more formal bracket since it's a really formal entry. Like if you can just jazz the brackets up a bit, but other than that, I'd move to approve.
We can definitely check those.
I agree. I always like it when you add more light, more windows. And that canopy works well to kind of give that front entrance some more definition, massing, without coming out with a porch or something like that. So,
yeah,
nice.
Thanks. And then let's see. We show now, and then the last thing that our client was interested in, and we actually added this in. You can look at this as an addendum or respond to it separately. Is this right? They just wanted to have a little enclosure for their trash cans next to the garage over there. They're pretty visible coming down Applebrook. you kind of turn a corner around this house, so it's like the first thing you see. So that's just a little fence that would hold the trash cans and hide them.
What color would it be?
Orange, so you can see it.
Yeah, there you go.
Same color for the house.
George, I might mention that this also helps come in compliance with the zoning code, chapter 1144 of environmental performances, where it states that all trash cans should be in, screened from view. So I think this helps from a zoning perspective as well.
I appreciate that comment.
I second Bill's motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion by Childs, seconded by Naylor. King,
Yes.
Naylor,
Yes.
Childs.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, George.
Thank you.
165 Sinlac Hills, one-story addition to the rear of the house.
Bringing presenters on now.
Hey, good morning. This is George Mateo. Can you hear us?
Good morning.
Yes.
Great. And we're joined today by our architect, Pat McCoska. Pat, are you there?
Looks like he's muted. If you guys want to add your video as well, we can see you.
Right.
Well, okay, hold on.
Oh, there we go. Thanks.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh,
George, we're getting a view of your not of your face. You might want to
tilt a couple of, there you go. Hi.
Okay, either George or Pat, the floor is yours if you want to explain your project.
okay, this is Pat McCoska. Is the audio working?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, well, on my screen, I'm not seeing anything. I'm just seeing the word Zoom. So it was working before, but I don't know if you can see me, but I can't see anything on my screen.
We can see you, and we're seeing the screen share that does show at the moment the existing elevations. I mean, unless you want to address that like technical issue, you could also just say what you want to see, like the elevations or the.
Okay, all right.
Proposed.
Well, all right. So on sheet A4, those are the exterior elevations. And at the previous meeting, I believe it was approved with conditionally. There were some suggestions on how to improve some aspects of the rear elevation. And particularly, I remember we discussed the material, which I had called out aluminum siding to match existing. We've since changed that to cement fiber siding with the exposure to match the spacing of the existing. And that there was a concern about the lack of trim, even though the existing house doesn't have much trim to speak of. I added trim in the form of corner boards and trim around the windows. There was a comment that the round windows seemed maybe a little large. I reduced that in size and added some casing trim around that. And then as I studied the design, I still wasn't pleased with the grouping of the windows in that new dining room area. And so I ended up, well, first of all, studying the sizes of the windows and came up with a scheme where the two outer windows are narrower than the two in the center and are separated from the two center windows by a trim board. So I think it reads a little bit better than just all windows of the same size grouped together as I'm showing in the flat roofed area, which is the family room. And initially when I was studying trim at the head of the window, I started with just a simple trim and a drip cap. And I wasn't satisfied with that. So it evolved into something a little more elaborate, kind of a simplified cornice, which I saw examples of in some of my reference material here, and examples in the village, and use that as an approach as to how to handle the head of the window. And then realized that I could use that same exact detail as a transition between the heads of the windows in the family room addition and the underside of the soffit, that projecting flat roofed soffit. So that's how I approached the redesign of it. And then the last thing was looking back at the dining room. I wasn't satisfied with it, still appeared rather flat to me. So I explored the idea of taking the grouping of 4 windows and projecting them slightly, about 6 inches, to create kind of a little bay effect. And when I studied that, especially in 3 dimensions, that I was more satisfied with the appearance of that. So those were the revisions that I did. And we're here for final approval today.
This is Bill Childs. I think you did a great job on this, and I appreciate your attention to detail and thinking of the fenestration and the massing and everything. So I move to approve. I think it's a great job.
Thank you.
I agree. It was a great process that we've been through, and appreciate all the time and energy that you've spent to develop this as well as you have.
Thank you.
It's definitely the most attractive part of the house.
I second the motion. I second the motion.
Okay. So we have a motion by Childs, seconded by King for final approval. Childs?
Yes.
What, Naylor?
Yes.
King? Hello, Steve?
Oh, Steve's frozen. Oh, there he is.
King?
Did you hear my vote? Yes.
Thank you. Okay, motion's approved. George and Pat, I have sent you, emailed you the planner review comments. You got to submit some stuff back to me. Should be in your inbox.
Thank you so much,
All
everybody.
right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
59 West Washington fence.
Stephanie, can you give us a sound check?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry.
Perfect. There you are.
So since Owen is Amish and he's unable to provide pictures, or he just put this together for me, and I'm out of state for work. Basically what I wanted to do is just replace what was there. That's along the alleyway there, where there was a fence at one point and a pagoda type of thing. And then at one point, the snowplows hit it and it was falling down. And so when I did my addition, everything came down anyhow. But as it stands right now, I still have a gate from the front of the house that leads to the back area, but I have nothing that kind of finishes it. There's a wire fence between my house and my neighbor's house, but you don't see it. It's not picketed. It's just a wire fence. But this would just literally replace what was there, except it would move the gate. Makes sense for my landscaping. It would just move the gate to an entrance from the garage or the driveway there, that small little driveway.
So Stephanie, this is Harry. So just so the board understands, this fence is all in your backyard at the rear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is just, yes, this is like the existing post is still there that the original fence was attached to. And then it's just my, right to the garage or to the driveway, I should say. And then attaches to the.
And it's just going to be a 42-inch picket fence like you guys showed.
Right. It's just like the one that's in the front of the house. I wish I had been able to take pictures. I didn't realize. So yeah, it's just a small picket fence, just white. Just what was there before.
Stephanie, would be painted white. Are they pointed
Yes.
pickets then?
They're round. They're kind of at there's two angles and then blunt. They're not a
They're
point.
blunt. Okay. I mean, so that's matching the existing detail.
Right. What was, if you know, again, the front gate, he just replaced that because it basically rotted away. And it's on the east side of the house that takes you from the porch into the backyard. And then it's just to match that.
I mean,
this is pretty straightforward. I'd move to improve. Sorry, I hope I didn't interrupt whoever that was speaking. I apologize.
I'm with you. I was kind of saying the same thing.
Okay. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I
so
second.
the bottom line, without adequate drawings and photography, it's matching what's already there.
Right.
Right.
I
Very
would
good.
support the motion.
You're too late on that. Naylor beat you.
Yeah, but I'm the chairman.
I didn't hear her though.
I did.
I
All right,
defer.
so-
I'll stay out of it.
So we have a motion by Childs, seconded by Naylor for fence in a rear yard, 42 inches high, basically replacing what was there.
Right. Thank
King?
you so much.
Yes.
King? Naylor?
Yes.
Childs?
Yes.
Okay, Stephanie, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one. Stay
You
cool. Bye.
Okay. River House Development.
I will bring them on as panelists. Give me a moment.
Just as a side note, as those guys get on as panelists, I don't know if you all went and saw the brick.
Mhm.
I like
did.
the
did.
color of that platinum brick much better in person. You know, it's just hard to render things, but it seems like a nice light gray to me. In person, I had no problem with the platinum color.
Siding had a very plastic look to it, I thought.
Exciting.
All right, our presenters are online.
Hi, good morning. I know it's been a long morning for you. Hopefully we can work through this pretty quickly for you. Last time we were in front of you, I believe the right terminology, we did receive final approval, but it was pending 4 specific items. Some retaining wall details, which we can get into. We provided a lot of additional information on that. Some porch beam column intersection details, window grids and mall locations, and the brick samples. So I guess since George mentioned the brick, we could start with the brick. And Mr. King's, I know you mentioned something about the remaining collapsed siding material that we're looking at. So on the brick, we did take the sample boards and strike off the joints in the sample boards with the color match mortar that we would be using. So you could see that we were looking for kind of the most neutral mortar that's available to match the 2 different brick colors, the dark and the light. I assure you our masons will do a much better job with those joints than I did when I was doing that in my driveway. But I hope it gives you a good idea of the color. So, and then the clap siding material, that KWP product, I would agree with Mr. King that certainly the synthetic products are never quite as nice in person when you're holding them in your hand as a natural wood, but I can assure you that it'll weather much better and continue to look better over time versus a natural cedar, especially given the access restrictions on this site on the riverside and kind of how difficult maintenance of a natural cedar would be, especially on that riverside. It's certainly not an inexpensive product. It's actually a little more of a premium over natural cedar. for us, but we think it's the best fit for our homeowners long term.
Yeah, I think that siding is a good solution. And I agree that long term it's going to continue to look far better than natural cedar without constant maintenance.
Yeah, I agree.
Are there other products would be my question. Synthetic products.
Pardon, Steve?
Are there other products that we're looking at one product and oftentimes there's a number of cement sidings and we've only looked at this particular product. I do not.
Steve, I mean, I think they're going for a natural wood look, and this is a product that provides that look. I mean, I don't think it's their responsibility to provide us with the world of siding products, which they possibly could use. I think they're providing us with one high quality siding product that they are proposing to use.
Well, it is their purview to show us what we want to see. It looks to me too close to a sandblasted house. I mean, when we went through sandblasting about 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and a number of houses were sandblasted and boy, I don't know, scabby.
Why did you select this material over a hardy board material? I'm just curious.
You know, we do use fiber cement quite a bit. You know, I have smooth fiber cement that I just put on my own house that I built. Quite frankly, I think that this is, you know, a wood fiber based product and it's got a good track record. And while we all use a lot of fiber cement, I'm still, you know, we have had some issues with it being a little more brittle and some cracking on it. And I'm still a little more comfortable with this manufacturing process versus fiber cement. Not to say that we don't use a lot of fiber cement, like I say, I use it in my own house, but we were honestly looking for an alternative to fiber cement. We're trying not to use it everywhere. So as a builder, I still see a little bit of risk with it at times.
I can see it from a cleaning standpoint, having suffered with mildew and you're close to the river. And I'm guessing this gives you an option to pressure wash the exterior.
It does, yeah. And I certainly don't disagree with Mr. King's comments and any of these synthetic products that are trying to look like wood. When you're holding them in your hand and look up close, they're certainly not wood. But I think if you look at specifically where we're using this and think about how close you're actually going to be able to get to it, once you get a few feet away, I think it looks quite nice and does a good job of looking like a cedar product. You know, we have mostly masonry and brick down low where you're able to walk up directly to the building. And at the distances you're going to be seeing it, interacting with it, I think it's a good simile or facsimile of cedar, and it's just going to wear much better. It's got a great warranty. This is not an inexpensive product. Price point wise, this is actually a little bit more than a hardy wood grain fiber cement in a pre-finished.
It also doesn't give you an option for a stain look finish, because hardy does not give you the ability to have a stain look finish.
That's right. Allura does, which is another fiber cement manufacturer that we're familiar with. They do have a fiber cement product that kind of looks like that, but I would argue that this KWP does a better job of that look than the Allura stuff does. And it's not fiber cement.
So this is mostly on the back overlooking the river, where it's going to be really hard to maintain anyway.
Mostly, I think if we go to the elevations, I don't know who's running the screen. You certainly see some from the garage side elevations.
That would be me, Vince. You just tell me where you want me to go.
Well, I guess any of the 3D color renderings might help answer this question. Yeah, so you can see here on the elevation on the left of the screen where the garage door is. You do see some by the front door as well. But I don't know the square footage takeoffs off the top of my head, but I mean, it's roughly, we're kind of, these houses seem to be about 50% masonry, 50% this KWP product. It's a pretty equal split.
You know, this is Bill. I was just going to say, again, if we could get the real, I know it's kind of hard over Zoom, get the real sample in our hands, unless you already submitted that to Harry.
We did, along with the brick.
It's been in the village hall for us, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a village hall, Bill. I sent you an email out last week asking everybody to stop by and look at it.
Oh, I apologize. I missed that one. Did everyone see that then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where I saw that.
I agree with George. I think that, you know, it's a good solution long-term for the building, helps the homeowners live in a more maintenance-free kind of structure. And it's going to be hard to fix this when it finally does fail, but hopefully that's 20 years from now instead of,
well, 50 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, so one comment on that elevation, and this is not some kind of big deal comment, but you've got the little hood over the door. I actually think it would be much nicer if the brackets came down into the same material. So maybe just that little bit underneath that hood could be brick both sides. I think there's something odd about the two brackets coming down onto two different materials. It's a fine point detail, but like maybe for your consideration, if you see what I mean. You've got that line.
I do see it, yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't disagree with you, that's for sure. I'm not sure, I guess, how to transition. You know, I guess maybe where there's that downspout, possibly that might be a logical spot to make that break between the two different materials. And I can look at it with with the architects for sure. I mean, I hear what you're saying. I also don't know I'm not sure if trying to transition those materials might be more awkward than the brackets landing on two different products.
Right. I just think maybe just take a look at it.
Sure. Yeah, I see it.
Excuse me, I had a question. Harry, are you across the street?
I am.
You know what? I'm just going to walk across the street. It'll take 2 minutes and I'll be right back. So keep going.
Okay.
I'll look at those materials.
Harry, would you refresh my memory? Maybe this is a Zoom thing, I don't know. I would like you to refresh my memory on the exact motion and approval and the units involved from last time with River House.
Oh, I have to go back and look at the minutes.
Well, I normally could reach them, but I can't.
Vince, you had a good handle on the four items, so maybe
I'll look it up for you, Steve.
The 4 items was it done in a block, or was there 3 through 6 and 1 through 2 or something like that?
That's right, Mr. King. So we're only here today for final approval for units 3 through 6. There were 4 comments that applied to those 4 units 3 through 6. We spent quite a bit of time on the cladding details, which is why we brought in the additional physical samples. There were some comments on the window arrangement and the grid details on the riverfront elevations, which we can get into, and we did address those and address your comments accordingly. Yep. There was I think it was George that pointed out some issues with the porches on the 3rd floor that weren't fully developed, as far as the columns landing on a beam and the need for, on how the ceiling would work in there. So that's been addressed as well, and we can show you that. And the last item was the retaining wall, which we spent quite a bit of time on. So we provided pretty thorough documentation and imagery on that, so we can talk about that too. And there were questions about how the retaining wall would step and what the ends would look like and how they would terminate. And we're prepared to discuss that with you too. Yeah. Those are the 4 key points.
And Steve, I do have the minutes in front of me if you want me to read them.
I think I just had my question answered quite eloquently.
Okay.
Thank you for your efforts there. Did that telephone pole go in the middle of your driveway?
It did. The new one is now out of the driveway, and the old high voltage poles and wires that were servicing the old mill have been removed too from the site.
Oh, I saw him putting that pole in. I go, boy, I hope the right hand knows what the left hand's doing here.
No, that's specifically because of where our driveway is.
Okay, got it.
We had to pay to have that moved.
Not to interrupt, but I did go over and see the materials, and I'm fine with materials.
Terrific.
Good.
If you want to go to the retaining wall, I think I love what
I
you're
think we can
proposing
move
for it.
Yes, I think.
Yeah, so we listened on last time, and certainly a poured concrete wall is not the most aesthetically pleasing thing. So we looked at another option from a company called Ready Rock that's manufactured here in Northeast. I think it's Sheffield or Lorraine, and they have a few different forms for their retaining wall systems. I believe they call this one the ledge stone. And so you asked for a rendering also looking up the driveway so you could get a little better idea of how this wall steps and what it would feel like, which Dimmitt Architects has prepared for us. That's, if you scroll back down, Harry, if you wouldn't mind, to the rendering. So we did, this is a new, oh, too far. Back up, please. Right there. Yep. So this is a new rendering that you haven't seen. We prepared this from our last meeting to help show what the wall would look like, as you come in to the site from Cleveland Street. This has been coordinated with the steps in the wall as the grade changes. As you can see, where the wall ends, I think we're at about 2 feet right there of exposed face. And it steps up as it goes towards the back of the site. In looking at their offerings for the retaining wall system, we noticed that they had one that was very similar to the bridge across the Cleveland Street Bridge. So we thought that would be something worth picking up. We like the look of it. So yeah, we even provided some pictures here of the Cleveland Street Bridge and then what their wall looks like above. So we took some cues off of that, and the colors are very similar, and we thought this would be a little better received than the poured concrete retaining wall.
It's great.
Very nice.
In my mind, I mean, I think that rendering will help you sell your units too. But
thank you.
Thank you for putting that together. Yeah.
We like it too. Yeah.
Does it have is it self-capping, or is there going to be a cap on that?
There's the top course of stones are specific cap stone.
Okay.
So there's no overhang or anything like that. And then those cores get, they get filled up solid as they stack it to lock everything in.
Great.
And then there's certainly the end return stones too, so that it looks like that stone wraps around.
Yeah, no, I think this is a nice product. It's nice to know about it, actually.
They're great. They've been a great company to work with. They were really quick on cost estimates. They do in-house engineering and help you design it, and they coordinated with our geotechnical engineer and checked all those boxes. So yeah, they were a good find. And then in addition to the retaining wall, our last two comments might be easiest to discuss looking at the CDs, the elevations on the CDs on the riverside.
What page was that on? Do you know?
I don't, but it's pretty early in the set. I should have made a note of that for you. There we go.
13,
Yeah. So there were a couple comments on this elevation that are all represented here on the elevation on the right, the north elevation. One was, and I believe it was Mr. Childs was talking about where the malls aligned with the operable doors below, and that it all lined up and was organized. So in looking at the pellicizing, we were able to make that work. So the transom above the doors on level 2, you can see those malls aligned below now. I think it was George or someone had a comment about the grids in the windows in the basement on level 1, and that there weren't any on our last revision, and that it might make a little more sense if those windows down there had them as well, or maybe it was just the ones on the sides that didn't have them. I apologize, I can't remember, but we did clean up the grids in where the malls land on level 2. And the last item that you can see on this elevation that was discussed is the need for a beam that those 4 columns carry on the level 3 porch. So you can see now where the dimension 15'8" is, that's a beam now. It's called out as TR, cladding material TR1. And there is a section, which I do have, oh, where did I write that down? There is a section that also shows how that lands too.
A311.
A313, maybe?
A332.
32?
Yep.
Thanks.
Oops. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Go the other way on that.
Up. Keep going up, Harry. Oh.
A little bit more, a little bit more, more.
There. Oh. Down.
Go to A332 would be more helpful, I think.
Would it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right there.
There it is. Back up just a little bit. Yeah.
Ah, yep. Perfect.
So those were the 4 items that were outstanding, and then there were some items on the adjudication order from the plan reviewer that were also addressed in the full resubmittal to Harry for those items as well.
Vince, just so you understand, I haven't gotten any comments back from them. They're still working on it.
Yeah, we get it. I just want to say we did go through that list and also picked up any comments from that order on this revised set and resubmitted as part of this application.
Okay, great.
In relation to the elevation views that you just ran over, I do think you successfully respond to the comments. And I'd also like to say I appreciate your guys' professionalism in this process.
Thank you for that. And I know it's been a long process and we've gotten stuck on a couple items, but in the end, we're thrilled with the product and where we've ended up. And we've already sold 2 of them. We have a lot of interest in this project. We're pretty confident it's going to sell out pretty fast, especially once people start to see shovels in the ground. That always helps. So, we appreciate everybody here working on this difficult project and this site. And we know there's a lot of eyes on this, and we're looking forward to getting in the ground and showing you that we can execute it well.
We very much like the wall. It's a vast improvement. And thank you for taking care of that. Because of recent comments, this is the cameras on Kings for his automatic whining about the fenestration. I worry that the last 2 units will not have a meeting that's going quite like this one is. And I'm hoping that you're addressing the fenestration that is extreme. I caught your Zillow advertisement and it struck me very, very directly because it had, I believe, the inside of the first unit. It seemed so from the perspective of floor to ceiling glass and amazing view and all that stuff. And then later on in the Zillow ad, it had a shot of Chagrin Falls and the other buildings in town. And it looked like another planet. I worry that you don't appreciate that not being historical is an element, but you're within 1,000 yards of 6 historic homes, and anything built in Chagrin Falls affects all of Chagrin Falls. And the floor to ceiling light, the beacon in the night worries me. The code lets us, keep the flavor of Chagrin alive. The code lets us protect the feel, the property values, and why people move to Chagrin Falls. And we have a lot of contemporary glass in town. We've approved 2 houses recently. We're very contemporary, but you can't see them from the road. And so that gives us a little leeway. These are featured houses, 3-story featured houses, and half of it's glass. I worry about that, and I don't want you to lose sight of that comment that I make, and then I see the same renderings time after time. Looking for a final on 1 and 2 is not the time to tell us again what you've already told us. At least I'm speaking only for myself at this point. And Let's move ahead with what's on the palette today, but I'm worried about the palette for 1 and 2 when you're looking for a final there.
Yeah, and we do hear you. We are preparing our first preliminary submittal for 1 and 2, and we've listened to those comments from the informal walk-in that we did, and we're addressing the window area. I can't promise that it's going to fully, it's just preliminary, right? It's going to be a process. We know that 1 and 2 are the most prominent residences on the site, and we understand that we have a process ahead of us for those as well. But we have listened to you in regards to the windows and more punched opening style windows versus the window walls that they kind of appear now, and we're trying to respond to that with the submittal. And we hope that you see that when we do bring 1 and 2 in front of you.
Thank you, Vince. I appreciate that.
Apparently, last night, you were back in front of planning and zoning with some a resubmittal of the plan. Were you part of that?
Yeah, I think that meeting just ended a few minutes ago. I haven't even left my desk since last night.
Yes, they were.
Yeah, my sister is on the board. And so I started getting mad texts yesterday in the middle of the day for things that I was really not aware of. And I don't know whether this is I suspect that this is a coordinating thing with the village of Chagrin Falls. But somewhere along the line between the original development agreement and all of the work that we've done for the last, and I don't know, 2 years on this project, the buildings went from a single monolithic foundation connected 0 lot line structure to individual structures with a separation and a property line. And I think it's important that the board understands, the Architecture Review Board understands that this was sort of a surprise to the board, the planning and zoning, and their primary concerns were in pushing these buildings back up off the hill, in getting a distance off of the hillside and shrinking the number of original units from 11 or 13 down to where we are now. Their primary concern is and has always been protecting that hillside. And when I was involved early on making comments about the original development, and I know Vince, I don't know if either one of you was party to that process early on, but I have been and I am still concerned that when you get the overdig on the hillside, you are going to be destabilizing that hillside extensively. And I don't know what the geotech part of this is, but I do know that when we go adding weight to this hillside, if we aren't extremely cautious, we're going to lose the hillside. It's happening on the other side. It's happening on both sides of the river downstream from where you are. And it's because of development and because of the roads that we're losing this hillside. So I want to be on the record that this is going to be a tough project to make sure that it is stable and it stays stable. And I don't know what, I also don't want to see, 3 years from now, the people that are spending $1 million a piece to buy these houses going, well, we need a landscaper in here to take all those trees out because we can't see the river. It's just it's a concern for me, and it was brought to my attention yesterday, and I want it to be on the record for the ABR that
I think I can speak to most of that. There's certainly was a disconnect somewhere in the process with planning and zoning as far as when the site plan changed from a total of 7 units, but more attached units. There was always one single family home on the site plan, but then the rest were two buildings that were attached. The overall footprint of that, where that was located on the site, never changed. We reduced the density, took 1 unit out and went to 4 single family units and then the 1 attached building up by Cleveland Street. We got that approved administratively through Rob Jameson, and we have all of that documented. And because of the reduction in density and the fact that the footprint did not change of the structure, we were told that planning and zoning was satisfied with that. So we were also surprised yesterday when some of the members said that they were not aware of that, and we're working through that with them now. We're pretty confident we're going to get past that. I asked a very plain question to them yesterday. I said, we've spent over 18 months with your architectural board review, getting to a point that everyone's satisfied and happy with. And if for some reason we were asked to make a change to the site plan, it's going to affect our elevations and our architecture. We have to start that process back over again. So why would we have gone this far with the process and been allowed to go this far with the process if that's the case?
I love what you've come up with. I appreciate the effort that you've made, and my concern is and has always been that the intent of the development agreement was to keep this away from the hillside, to protect the hillside, protect the riverfront, and that doesn't change whether this is 1 structure or 2.
Right.
What changes, to my mind, and I think that it's their concern as well, is that being individual pieces of property, how do you control what someone who's paid $1 million for this property does?
I can answer that because we spent a lot of time on that last night. Because these are 4 single family versus attached houses, it doesn't in any way change the way the community operates. It's still managed under an HOA, no different than it would have been if they were attached, with the same restrictions. Within the HOA documents that Dale Markowitz has already reviewed, there's language in there restricting the homeowners from doing anything beyond that 5-foot setback line on the slope. That's in the HOA documents, and we have that already in there, and Dale's office has already reviewed that. In addition to that, we discussed going to 0 lot lines on the single family houses with P&Z yesterday, which we had no issue with and agreed to. We can rework the plat so there's 0 lot lines. Substantively, that doesn't change how the HOA operates. They would still have the same limitations, but it made P&Z more comfortable, and we were happy to do it.
Okay.
As far as I do want to reiterate, because I know that with some past experiences in the village, working on a slope is certainly of a big concern here. I will say, to answer your question about the weight, our buildings are all bearing on the rock beneath. They're not bearing on the hillside. Every single one of these foundations is anchored into the bedrock below. And we know we did an additional round of soil borings to satisfy Tim Lannon's office for the hillside protection permit and the slope stability requirement that was asked for. And we've met all those requirements. And with those additional borings, we even have a better understanding of the depth and the undulation of the rock below. We've done more soil bearings on this site, especially for this size site, than I think we've done on any other project. I think there's probably a total of 20 now. So the foundations are either directly bearing on rock, or where it's a little deeper, they'll be brought up in lean concrete to the bottom of footer, so they continually bear on rock all the way around, and there's no differential settlement. So, and that was something we chose to do. I mean, there are certainly, you're not required to. You can bear on the hillside with the right recommendations from the geotech, but this is a method that we chose to do.
It's a safer way to go.
That's right.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion?
I would say also that Phil's comment on the trees, when the view is spoiled by the tree, there's going to be trees cut. oh, they can't do it. I've got a piece of paper in my hand. I'll wave it in your face. But when you wake up the next morning and the trees are gone, the top half of the trees are gone, they're going to stay gone. And 30 years from now, who goes after who? So it's, that is a concern. We had, Bedrock sounds wonderful, but we had Robert Vitt in front of us, whatever, 10 years ago, swearing up and down, our engineers, his engineers, everybody, we got this figured out. It is just so figured out. And then 2 houses dribbled down the hill from Cottage Street. So the Bedrock is a very good thing to hear. Clearing the view in 20 years, that'll be an interesting issue. And you guys will all be gone. You'll all be gone. We will probably all be gone.
I can't, and Mr. I don't dispute. I mean, obviously, that you know, you always have to be able to react to what, you know, try to speak to what people may or may not do down the road. All I can say is that we've put the restrictions in place, and Dale Markowitz's office has done a good job of saying that those HOA restrictions cannot be modified without the village's approval. So it's not like when we leave, the HOA can go then and vote to change that restriction. That's a recorded document with the county. And the village has to approve any changes to any sections that are pertinent to things that the village has oversight over, like this hillside. I realize that may not provide a 100% comfort level with what people may just go out there on their own accord and do, but at least there's a mechanism and recourse to go back to the homeowners association if that happens down the road.
Steve, if I could just, I don't want to delay this any longer, but I'm going to speak for the administration here. As you all know, this is a very complicated, very complex project. We've been working on this for 2.5 years. And so now we're getting down to the final details. I can tell you that they have to submit, and it's part of the hillside requirements, the disturbed areas will have a site plan on that. They have to give us a tree inventory on what trees are going to be removed, what trees are going to stay, along with the geotech stuff. All that stuff is in front of our engineers right now for review, and is part of the preliminary plat review process that they went through last night. So I think from the village's side, we're doing everything we can to make sure that the hillside does not get disturbed. And we have a tree inventory and a landscape plan. So when this project goes forward, we should be in pretty good shape.
Thank you, Harry. Let's move forward here.
Yes, thanks, Harry.
Yep.
Thanks. So make a motion to approve.
Second.
So we have a motion to approve buildings 3 through 6 for final, correct? And the motion has been made by Childs and seconded by Naylor.
Could the retaining wall be mentioned?
Excuse me?
Could the retaining wall improvements be mentioned here?
Yeah, I think you should, in your motion there, you should probably state everything. So, final buildings 3 through 6, retaining wall, so forth and so on.
That would be for Bill to approve.
Okay, I move to approve buildings through 6 with the retaining wall improvements.
Second.
Retaining wall, what? I did.
Improvements. Improvements. Is that what you said, Harry? Sorry, I had a hard time hearing.
Yeah, buildings 3 through 6 with the retaining wall improvements.
With the retaining wall improvements, thank you.
King?
Yes.
Naylor?
Yes.
Childs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Vince and your team. And once I get a letter back from RSA on the plan approvals, I'll email it to you.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate all your time and working with us on this.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Vince.
guys.
Thank you.
616 North Street.
Bringing on the panelists now, presenters.
Oh, right.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Great. Good morning, everyone. I will try and make this quick, kind of go over here. If you go to sheet A.6.1.
Thank
Could you
you.
please state your name?
Pardon?
Could you please state your name?
Oh, Matt Ross Architects. I'll run through the previous comments. One of them was removing the arch from that garage door. Studied this a little bit. I actually like the flattened out. Kind of de-emphasizes the unbalancedness of, if that's a word. I think both work, but that was one of the comments. Changed the horizontal lights to vertical lights on the windows. That was an easy one to make. We widened the columns. Previously, we had a 10-inch column, went to 12 inches, tried 14, tried 13, felt a little bit out of proportion. Added the brackets on that elevation, more of a simplified bracket. I would have liked to move it over a little bit from the garage side, on either side of the garage, but I've got 2 posts embedded in that wall. So it's a little difficult to, I think we're going to try and scooch them over as much as we can. It's a little crowded with the light there. And then we reduced the roof pitch from a 3.5 12 to a 2.5. Brings it back into a little bit more scale. And then we changed to a metal roof as well. So those were pretty much the comments, I believe, that were made at the preliminary.
I still really like this design. I think it's fun. It's a playful design for a garage. I think it's attractive from, every angle. So I appreciate the side facing gable and front, rear, everything. You've got the porches everywhere. So, and it's also way back in the woods.
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of an easy one, hopefully.
Yeah, I moved to.
Yeah.
I want to state for the record that I think a 2,000 square foot accessory structure is way out of line, and we're approving something that is way back in the woods and works just fine, but we've got a hole in our zoning code that just they're driving a truck through.
You're talking about not including the area under open porches, right?
Exactly.
In terms of accessory structures.
Yep. I mean, you've got a trench footing all the way around this thing. Next year, they're going to put up the walls. It's just ridiculous. So we're going to do what we have to do or want to do, but this is pretty outrageous.
Good comment, Phil, but those are comments for planning and zoning. They need to address those issues.
I get it. Not the first time I've made them. Stephanie was just on this morning, so.
Right.
I second Bill's motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion by Childs, seconded by Naylor for final approval for accessory structure. Childs?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Naylor?
Yes.
Thank you, Matt. Matt, I've emailed you the plan review comments. They should be in your inbox.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sublot 13 Falls Walkway. New dwelling.
Harry, are we,
Voting the presenters now?
Harry, before they get on, can we not see any walk-ins at the end of this?
I don't know of any walk-ins, to tell you the truth.
Okay,
That's
that question is answered.
fantastic.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
Good morning, Neil.
Morning.
Morning.
All right, Neil, you're, please state your name for the record for the secretary, and then we'll let you talk about your project at Falls Walk.
Yes, my name is Neil Safran. I'm the architect for this project. And
what you changed from the last meetings, we all thought it was a pretty good project.
yeah, there were just two, Bill, there were a couple comments, and I don't see Gary is here. Gary actually presented because I was not able to be there. But the general commenting was that the dormer in the front was, there was too much room kind of in the sill condition above the roof break. And we were able to pull back that dormer so as to align kind of the cheek wall dimension with the area below the dormer.
Nice.
And then there was an additional comment on the right side elevation. You'll forgive me if I'm looking at my screen. I think if you would look at A3.
Yep.
Where there was an area in the tenement, if you will, that was deemed to be blank, a big blank space. So we put in a rectangular vent.
Okay.
And those were the two comments that were the Architectural Board of Review comments. And hopefully we did a good job of listening.
Yes, you did. I think you did a great job on this project. Looks really good. Thanks for the fine tweaks, and I had to move to approve.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion for final approval for 315 Falls Walk. Motion by Childs, seconded by King. Naylor?
Yes.
Childs?
Yes.
King?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Neil,
you. I just wanted to
it's
say
been
to Bill,
approved. And
thank you, Bill. I just wanted to say from a fellow Kent State student, I appreciate your comments.
hey, Neil, before you go, I've emailed you the comments from RSA. They'll be in your inbox.
And I will review and comply. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye, Neil.
Thanks. Take care.
Christy, do we have any walk-ins?
If there are any members that are attending who'd like to speak, please use the raise your hand function in the Zoom platform so I can identify you as a potential speaker. No, sir, Harry, we do not have any walk-ins today.
Okay, very good. So that would conclude your regular agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hallelujah. What, Bill?
Steve, thank you, Steve.
I just said thanks a lot. Have a nice day.
Thank you all.
You too.
Thank you, everyone.
See you, everybody.
Good job. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.